Hi, Analisa Six here with the Lady of Leisure and the Sober Curator to bring you the November 2024 horoscope for the zodiac sign of Sagittarius for Sun and Rising placements. Sagittarius, we're about a week out from your season, so happy birthday to all of the November Sagittarius people. This horoscope is also going to be for me because I'm Sagittarius rising. I say that every month. It's exciting. I never really look at these in advance, so I'm telling you as I'm telling myself. Um, we start out every November in Scorpio season, and this month we started out with a bang with a new moon at 9 degrees of Scorpio. And the area of the chart that this hit for the Sagittarius horoscope was the 12th house, which is the house that rules our subconscious. It's considered to be the house of hidden desires and secrets. It's also the area that rules dreams and our desire to connect to soul or source energy. We've had Mercury passing through here, I think for the last month about. Mercury entered Scorpio in October, so mid-October. So the last few weeks, before we entered, at the time I'm recording this, Mercury's not here anymore, but it was in the 12th house starting mid-October. And new moons are a time for setting intentions and planting seeds for things that we wish to cultivate. And in Scorpio, it's all about releasing and letting go of energy. So if we think about the 12th house ruling the subconscious, and this also can be tied to past life karma, there's also a connection to what's underneath in terms of what we're wanting out of our life, hidden desires, things like that, that maybe sometimes we have a hard time admitting to ourselves. And with a new moon, there's this ability for us to set intentions and say, okay, I want to be honest with myself that this is what I want to call in. But in Scorpio, there's also a huge emphasis on transmutation of energy and accepting that nothing stays the same forever and that we're always in this state of flux of death and rebirth. And so this new moon was also a really powerful time for accepting those things and focusing on what we're ready to release and let go. So if you had anything from the past that came up for you at the beginning of the month that you really feel like you're ready to kind of start a new chapter, this was a really positive time to set intentions towards that frequency of energy. The other thing that we started the month out with is Venus in our sign of Sagittarius in the first house of the horoscope. And Venus in the first house is a really positive sign for focusing on filling your own cup, self-love, building a strong relationship to self, doing things that come from a place of really wanting to feed yourself on an individual level, being more autonomous, more independent. Sagittarius is the sign of long distance travel, wanderlust, seeking adventure, looking into learning more philosophically, spiritually, all of that. So it was a really good time to kind of focus on filling your own cup and building a strong relationship to self. We also started out November with Mars in Cancer, finishing up its stint in Cancer, and then moving into Leo on the 4th, 5th, depending on where you're at. And the area that Mars has been transiting in Cancer is the area that's connected to our shared resources. And this is also the house of marriage, the house of financial institutions. It's also the house of sex, death, and rebirth. And so with Mars passing through Cancer here, we experience some hardship in those areas of our life, but it also, because it rules this house, amplifies our sexual drive or our desire for sex. It also can create some financial turbulence, especially when it comes to taxes, debts, financial institutions. And again, if we're in a marriage, these, or, like a close relationship, Mars passing through here can bring up some tension, turmoil, conflict within the marriage. With Mars leaving this area and entering Leo, it's going to enter the 9th house, which is the house that Sagittarius traditionally rules. And it's going to be making a trine to the Sagittarius energy in Leo. And so the 9th house is long distance travel. It also rules philosophy, higher education and learning like college or any kind of trade school or something that has to, the 3rd house has some trade school elements too, but the 9th house has more to do with kind of this broader learning that can sometimes have to do with, going and learning something from another culture or another country or place or things like that. And so Mars is going to be here after the 4th for the rest of November, but Mars stations retrograde here in December. And so we're going to have Mars in Leo for quite a while. It's going to stay in Leo till January, and then it's going to move back into Cancer and be in that eighth house area. And then it's going to station direct in February and move back into Leo in April. And it's not going to leave Leo until June of 2025. So we're going to have the eighth house, ninth house elevated by Mars here. The other thing the ninth house rules is the law and publishing. So anything that we hope to put out into the world or release is going to be under kind of this Mars influence. And in Leo, like there's definitely, you know, some need to kind of learn some humility lessons here. We also have, there's just a lot. There's a lot here. So legal stuff can come up. You got to be kind of mindful with how you're putting your energy forward. We also have Mercury entering our sign of Sagittarius at the beginning of the month. So I talked about Mercury and Scorpio. I didn't really go into, and Venus in Sagittarius, but Mercury enters Sagittarius on the 3rd. And Mercury is going to be in Sagittarius for quite some time as well, because Mercury stations retrograde at 22 degrees Sagittarius at the end of the month. So Mercury will be entering the 4th house and leaving that 12th house energy. And in the 1st house, Mercury, did I say 4th house? I meant to say 1st house. Mercury is entering the 1st house. And in the 1st house, Mercury in the 1st house has a lot to do with our perception of self, the way we view ourselves, the way we talk to ourselves, how we're relating to our identity and analyzing who we are. And values and belief systems around identity are a big theme. Also, the way that we communicate our knowledge is highlighted. Now, Sagittarius dominant people are known to be know-it-alls. I'm a Sagittarius rising with a lot of ninth house placements. I'm also a Leo, and so like all this energy that's getting activated right now, I'm like, I very much have a lot of it. And I definitely have gotten feedback from loved ones and friends and partners that I can come off very condescending at times. I can sound like a know-it-all. I can be too big for my britches, all that kind of stuff. And I've tried really hard to work on that in my life. I take that feedback and I say, okay, I hear you. What can I say differently? How can I say it differently? What can I do? And a lot of what I found is positive for me is to channel that side of myself into teaching or educating or sharing. And I do that on social media, and I do it on my YouTube channel about astrology. I also teach astrology. And I try to take it out of my friendships as much as I can, unless people are coming to me asking me for advice. But I do have a tone of voice that I sometimes, it's hard for me to change or get out from under, because it's been my voice for so long that can come off that way. And that's very Sagittarius. It's a very common thing. My dad is also Sagittarius rising. My mom has a Sagittarius moon. So I was raised by two people that have a lot of that energy as well. And I think that, you know, there's a positive side to it where we can be really good educators. We can be really fun when we have something to share to people that want to hear it. But if we're around people that don't want to hear it and we're giving it, we're annoying really fast, or we come off really rude or condescending, mansplaining, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm saying this because anybody that's watching who's also Sagittarius dominant, you have the ability during this time, especially with Mars in the 9th house in Leo and Mercury in the 1st house in Sagittarius, to grow and evolve around this, and also to be open to learning new ways to communicate and new ways to perceive your own wisdom. And also, it's important to know it's okay to not know everything. It's okay to admit when you don't know something. It's okay to be a student of life and not necessarily be the one holding all the information. It's actually really nice to not be that person. I have done work on myself where somebody's telling me something that I already know, and I've learned to just listen and shut up, even if the whole time I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't need to hear this or whatever right now, because I know they need to share it with me or it's fun for them, right? So I feel like there's a lot of wisdom in being quiet. There's a lot of wisdom in letting other people's egos need to air and get air, you know, need to get airtime, you know. And I think the more humble and the more wise you become, the less you need to be heard, the less you need to be understood, the less you need to explain or convince anybody of anything. And that's been my biggest lesson, is like, oh, I don't need to share. I don't need to be the one with the information or the knowledge all the time. Like it's okay. And it's actually, it saves a lot of energy for me to just be quiet. But I will say, as a Sagittarius dominant person, a big part of where I find joy and purpose is in educating, talking, sharing knowledge. Like that's why I like doing these videos. This is a point of joy for me. I enjoy it. So I find areas or spaces where it's welcome and where I can flex that muscle. And I know it doesn't have to be on all the time. And I think that that's um, the growth point for Sagittarius during the November Mercury retrograde shadow period, all that kind of stuff in Sagittarius. All right, moving on. Venus is going to be moving out of our sign and entering Capricorn on the 13th. So as I'm recording this, Venus is already here and she's entering our second house, which is really positive for us because Venus is the ruler of the second house. She brings good fortune whenever she's passing through a house. And the second house is the house of money, material stability, finances. This is a great time to manifest more money into your life, or to just have more abundance coming at you. And also to think about what your self-worth is, your values, your beliefs around how you value material stability, things like that. After that, we're going to have a full moon at 15 degrees. I'm sorry, at 24 degrees Taurus. It's happening on November 15th. And Saturn will also be stationing direct in Pisces. This full moon happened yesterday, and where it's hitting for us, Sagittarius people, is the 12th house is where the sun is. The 6th house is where the full moon is. That full moon was conjunct Uranus, which can feel kind of discombobulating and bring, you know, kind of some sudden changes to what we had planned or our routines. The 6th house has a lot to do with how we're of service, how we're structuring our day, how we're organizing things. And, you know, this is a really positive time to acknowledge where your daily routine needs help and maybe more structure, or kind of where you need to work on organizing your life more. So if you feel like you need a routine change, or you need to focus more on your health in certain ways, this full moon was a good time to set intentions towards that. And then Saturn station direct in Pisces, where it's been retrograde since the end of June. That happened in the house of home and family. So if there's been kind of since June, this little bit of bubble of turbulence in the home and family life, hopefully with Saturn stationing direct, you're gaining momentum towards healing some of that or working through some of those themes. After that, we're going to enter the shadow period of Mercury retrograde on the 21st of November. Pluto's going to enter Aquarius, and then we're also entering Sagittarius season. So the sun is going to move into our first house. Woohoo! But Mercury's retrograde here. So we're kind of working through identity stuff. Who am I? What do I want to do? Reflecting and reviewing and reassessing our relationship to self and identity. And Mercury is going to be stationing retrograde on the 25th. And, you know, kind of kickstarting, you know, in the first house, some of those identity questions. So again, you know, just kind of a review on Mercury retrograde. It's not the best time to make any drastic changes, but it's a great time to be in reflect, review, and reassess mode, especially when it comes to who we are to ourselves with it passing in the first house. Again, humility lessons will be kind of a theme for us. We don't know everything, you know. And then the last transit I'm going to talk about for this horoscope is November 30th. We are going to have a new moon at 9 degrees Sagittarius. So some of these questions around identity expression and who we are to ourselves, this new moon happening in the first house for us is a great time for us to set intentions towards who we are, how we're relating to self, and just who do we want to be? You know, who do we want to be to ourselves and in our lives? It's a great time to kind of sit and just reflect on that and tell the universe, like this would be a positive thing for all the Sagittarius people to do on November 30th with this new moon, is to get a candle, a red candle that represents the root chakra, which is kind of like where our power lies. And then write down all the things about yourself that you love, maybe all the things about yourself that you feel like, I don't want to say you dislike, but maybe that you feel need improvement. And then write down what you want to change about it, or what intentions you have for yourself moving forward. In your ideal world, who do you want to be, in this next chapter? And, put that piece of paper that you wrote all that down underneath that red candle, light that red candle and do a meditation and imagine yourself being that version of yourself, what you see the ideal version of yourself in this next chapter being, I think is positive. All right, Sagittarius, I'm going to leave you with that. Good luck. If you liked this video, please hit the like and subscribe button to get notified on when I share these. You can find me at theladyofleosure.com and thesobercurator.com, and I will post that information in the description box in the link. All right, I'll see you guys next month. Good luck.